David Davis from ActualTech Media. We're here at VMworld 2018. I'm happy to be joined by childhood friend.
Forever,
Mr. Neil Moore.
Yeah.
How you doing, Neil?
I'm doing great, Dave. How you doing?
Doing awesome. So good to see you at VMworld again.
It seems like that's where we meet every time.
Seems like it was just last year I saw you at VMworld.
Yeah. It was either that or one of the other conferences.
Right. So for those who don't know, Neil is a Cisco networking legend. 8 CCIEs, that's more than I have on one hand, 8 CCIEs, along with the DE.
Yep, right. Some people count that as another CCIE, but don't.
Okay.
Yep.
And you work at VMware.
Yep, yes I am.
What do you do for VMware?
I'm part of the network functions virtualization team, so my family thinks I'm a spy, but basically I'm doing stuff that you can't see, that will not return on a Google search yet.
Oh.
So like when you make a telephone call from one phone to another with Verizon and Sprint, all that magic stuff that's going on behind the scene, that's network function virtualization.
Okay, so a lot of telcos use NFV.
Yes, a lot of telcos.
And some very large enterprises as well?
No, it's mostly telcos,
just
telcos and service providers.
Service providers, okay.
Right. Example would be like, and I'm just picking it out of the air, would be like Netflix. When you watch it on a large screen TV, it goes through different servers than if you're watching it on your phone.
Okay.
So all of that stuff is being done behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after having achieved so many certifications in your life, I know a lot of people look to you for certification advice. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, I mean, VMware has thousands of jobs open.
Yes.
I would guess. Last time
a lot of different skill sets too.
A lot of different skill sets. And I'm sure a lot of people look to you and say, how can I get a job at VMware or even Cisco or one of these other big companies? And so what we want to talk about today for a few minutes is just kind of your advice. What do you recommend? What do you tell people?
I tell them first you find out the job that you want and that you can get behind, and that it matches what the skill sets that you want to achieve and what you want to do and how much time you want to put into it. Then just go find the job that you want, and similar to a certification exam, work it backwards to say these are what I need to know. This is the experience I need, and then from there work it back. So then you're ready for interviewing or ready for the actual position itself.
Okay. And I've noticed, a lot of job descriptions have gotten very detailed. In the past it might be like college degree and 20 years of networking experience, But now it's like, well, you need to know this and this and this and this. So what are some of those skills that, for example, I don't know, you just pick a job at VMware, a typical job. What are some popular skills that you see people learning about?
Well, yeah, it just happens to be. I posted one that's in our team, like I think today or something like that. So just using it as an example, and it's a fresh example. So one of the things that you look for, one is when you go out to the job, make sure it's current. Like it's not a job that's been sitting out there for 5 years, regardless of if it's ours or anybody else's. And then from there, you start picking through it, finding the skill sets that overlap, and then also what skill sets you already have. And if they say that you need, for example, 5 years of vSAN experience, go work that one backwards to find, okay, how can I get 5 years of experience very fast? Because 5 years means maybe putting an hour in a day.
Right. Yeah.
On the job, hour or two a day. So if you're able to put in, it sounds they're crazy hours, but if you put in, like you were studying for a CCIE, which is 40 hours plus a week, you would be considered a level 1 or 2, intermediate in as little as say 6 months, and then from there you can use that to go get on the job experience out of the deal. So then it augments what you're looking for.
Okay. So rapid skill adoption, and what are some of the ways that people do that commonly? How do they?
Well, that's the thing about it is a lot of folks, they just blindly sign up for that job, the description looks really cool.
Yeah.
They don't actually go through the job description itself and say, hey, what skill sets do I need to do? Where in the interview, where do I need to keep it so that's where I'm very strong versus very weak? And if I know, say, absolutely nothing, and I'm picking on NSX. I know networking, but I don't know any NSX.
Right.
So from that perspective, it's like, okay, I'll go do VMware hands-on labs. I will go and go through Pluralsight stuff and work it backwards to pick up the knowledge that would have taken them 2 or 3 years to pick up if they had done it on the job, and then couple it with what you know, because that makes it your own.
And we were in the labs today, the VMware hands-on labs, crazy popular labs, and I noticed the #1 lab was getting started in NSX. And so obviously there's a ton of excitement around NSX. Do you see, I mean, obviously that must be one of the top, skill or products that people are interested in learning these days. What's your take?
Right, well, it comes down to is that firewalls get old, hardware gets old, so it allows you to move that thing, like firewalls up into the software area, and then you can update much quicker. That's the big one. It's like with NSX and NSX VNT. If you're looking for high performance or multiple like KVM and which is the open source hypervisor, and ESX, which is our VMware one, to be able to interact with each other. That can be done with NSXT. So it's all of a sudden just using what I was talking about for the job descriptions. It's like if it says NSXT, KVM, and VMware experience, by putting all three of those together, you're picking up a skill set that nobody would have as single discipline.
Yeah, and those hands-on lab training guides are, in my opinion, fantastic resources, completely free. Anybody can access over the internet. Fantastic resources for learning any of the VMware products.
Exactly, yeah. And the ones that we're doing now, I think open 2 or 3 weeks. I guess you can't kind of quote me, but it should be 2 or 3 weeks from this VMworld, not 2 or 3 weeks for Barcelona, which I think is in November. Yeah, I travel a lot, so it's like I'm just trying to figure out where I am. It's in the world.
Awesome. Well, great advice today, Neil. Thank you so much for helping. I know so many people out there, get their foot into the door in some of these enterprise tech careers that are really hot and people are really excited about.
Yeah. I mean, back in the 90s, literally my first job was, I went and got the job description. Back then we didn't have this thing called the internet really yet, so it was like get all the books, and exactly what I'm giving you now is what I did 20 years ago. It's like, I went and read everything that I could find. And
it's like an exam blueprint. You take the blueprint for the exam, and I think you told me this, take the blueprint for the exam, break it up, and work backwards from that.
Right, and then the other part is, just so that you're not wasting your time, is get multiple jobs from the same place, just to make sure that there's things on there you would never do.
Right.
Because sometimes people throw the kitchen sink at the job rec. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to know APIs and XYZs and all of this kind of stuff, and OpenStack and vSAN. I'm like, this job is way too broad. Yeah. So
they often don't say at what level you need to know those things. Like maybe you just need to know what an API is.
Yes, exactly. Right. Because sometimes it's like, wait a minute, you want me to know Python at the same time?
Right.
It's all that kind of stuff. So it's that's the other thing, is to do research, because some of those jobs could turn into a university, almost an entire degree on their own. Right. Which is not what you're after if you're after picking up a job, even a beginning or a more advanced job.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Neil.
Yeah, so as always, man, have a good one. You too.